Appreciate it. So my name is Keith Fidel. I work with New Noise, and I also work with Red Scale, also playing shows tonight. So thank you all for coming. Really happy to have an old friend with some new friends here. So Elliot and I have known each other for, I guess, about 10 years now. So Elliot's been writing about music in the digital space since I even first started paying attention. So I remember we lived in San Francisco about 10 years ago. I remember when Napster broke, he was the guy that I was reading about, saying intelligent stuff about it. So really happy to have him. We've got a lot of great panelists here, a lot of great folks. He's going to go through and do a one-on-one with everybody and ask 3 tough or not so tough questions.
They'll be a little tough.
Remember, they flew far to see you here, so don't be too tough. Maybe let's start with Mr. David Hyman from MOG, if that would work.
All right, thanks, Keith, and thanks for showing up, people, and I guess people on the web as well. We'll be increasing our audience.
Yeah, let me also mention that. So we've got Spark Interactive with a live stream, so everybody who's out there in the interweb, please say hello virtually, and we'll let you get started.
All right, so yeah, I'm Elliot Van Buskirk. I'm the editor of Evolver.fm, which is, I think, the first consumer-facing music app publication in the world, and we have some interesting stuff coming up. Right now it's a blog, but it's about to be some other stuff too. And David Hyman...
Is there going to be a print edition?
Yeah, that's what we're doing. That's the big surprise.
Awesome.
It's going to be a broadsheet. So, David, we've been talking about MOG for years, you and I.
We've danced.
Yes, we have done this
together.
So my most recent MOG experience, I think the newest thing I saw was the car integration. So I wanted to talk to you about the car. A lot of people are saying that this is the next big platform. And they're saying, and I think you agree, that it's going to be the smartphone acting as the modem. It's not going to be a modem in the dashboard. So I wanted to see, again, these are somewhat tough questions. I wanted to see how you see like these limited data plans playing into services like MOG in the car. How are you going to cope with that?
Yeah. Well, it's a really good question. You know, for one, we're moving to even a lower bit rate. You know, so currently we're doing 64 kilobit AAC plus, and I think we'll go down to 32 if we have to for people who want the choice. In the near term, one of the big advantages of MOG is that you get unlimited downloads to the phone as part of the subscription. So for people who are more data plan sensitive, they can fill their phone up with music when they're in a Wi-Fi zone and then access that local collection. You know, we'll see how it all plays out. I mean, now that 4G is coming out, net neutrality is kind of getting thrown under the bus, and it's all going to be pay for play. But the good news for consumers, I'm told, is that sometime in the middle of 2012, AT&T and Verizon are going to get into a data plan price war. So fortunately, there's not one company, and we are in America, and there's a little bit of diversity.
Right.
And these guys will compete with each other and bring the pricing down. But I do agree that car is a massive opportunity. We look at satellite radio with 20 million subscribers. People paying $15 a month for 150 radio stations, and we think that's going to get completely disrupted. Yeah, there's Howard Stern. We're told that's worth about 3 million subs, and so my dream for MOG is to one day pay Howard Stern $300 million to be on MOG and not satellite radio. But to your question about leveraging the phone, I think that's a near-term solution. I think what we're going to see over time, in BMW it's using the phone, and the problem is the phone goes into a cradle, but what happens when you want to use your phone? People still use their phone for calls and stuff. I would rather see redundancy in the car with a model that's more akin to the Kindle, where there's another 3 or 4G chipset in the head unit that MOG can leverage. And just like when you use your Kindle, there's connectivity in there, but you don't know who the carrier is. It's just built into the cost of a purchase of a book. And Kindle's done the work on the back end modeling to figure out what to pay the carrier out of a piece of all the downloads. I would love to just charge an extra $1 a month or whatever it is and have consumers not have to worry about it.
Right.
They don't need to know who the carrier is. They don't have to rely on the phone. They don't have to worry about what phone they have, and they can still use their phone as a phone.
Right.
I think that's the better long-term plan. So,
Well, the Wi-Fi thing, that sort of reminds me of the Chevy Volt or something, where you plug in your car at home, or you can fill up the gas on the go, right? That seems like the analogy.
yeah.
So this one goes to just, I guess, the core of the MOG model, which, there was the famous Steve Jobs quote. He kept saying, people don't want to rent music, and he wasn't always right. So I'm wondering what clearly you think that people do want to rent music. So how do you see that behavior working out? Are people, I guess, evolving to the point where this is going to become a more mainstream behavior? Like, was he basically wrong about this? I'm not trying to get you to talk about it.
Look, I'm reading his book right now, but he was also the guy that said, when they asked him if he'd develop iTunes for PC, he said when hell freezes over.
Right.
And then like 2 years later, ta-da!
Right.
So I kind of don't believe that rhetoric. I think for the time in which iTunes created, it was definitely the right idea. I think before the advent of 3G and smartphones, subscriptions to music were really uninteresting to most consumers. The first 8 to 10 years of Rhapsody's existence, it was relegated to the home, right? And for music, I mean, portability is everything, and to your point earlier, the car. And so to have a subscription and not being able to take it with you was just an untenable option for most people. Wealthier people who were comfortable being redundant would pay for Rhapsody and buy everything for iTunes for their iPod. But now that we've got 3G and smartphones, it's changed everything.
That's a good point.
I mean,
the smartphone kind of is the DRM now. You don't even notice it because you're just signing.
the word never even comes up anymore.
Right.
So and it's really, a lot of it is education. People have never subscribed to music before. And so that makes a lot of people's brains explode. It doesn't for movies because they've been used to renting for a long time. But I mean, once somebody uses the service, they can't believe that they lived without it.
Right, and now you have the free, the option to just come in from Facebook and authenticate and not have to put down a credit card and stuff. So that's probably helping.
Yep.
As well.
I mean, the launch of the free version of our service, which took forever to get the label deals done to do, is just a critical piece to get people comfortable and over the hump. Unless you're Apple and you have $100 million to spend on a nationwide brand marketing campaign, like they did with the iPod to kind of educate people, there's a new way to do things. You have to be smart, and you have to try to be viral and free.
All right. I think we have time for another quick one. I wanted to ask you how I kind of know the answer to this, but maybe people don't. You were one of the Facebook music partners, and I heard some good news from you recently. This is not a tough question, by the way, because I know that the answer, and it's like a positive one. How has the Facebook integration gone? Has it met your expectations?
Yeah.
Are you surprised? How's it going?
It's been awesome. It's the best thing that's happened to MOG since we launched the subscription service, as far as generating people into the funnel, into the free service, which ultimately we hope many will convert, but it's still too early to see the conversion data because it's only been out for about 30, 45 days. But as far as people coming into MOG and starting to use the free service, it's just been phenomenal. I was with one of our main contacts at Facebook last week, and he said, the good news is, he said, I think only around 10% of the American population has yet been exposed to play buttons on Facebook. So they've really, a lot of people in the room here probably see it because we're all, music lunatics and in the business, but they've had a lot of bugs on their end. Sometimes the play buttons don't link, they're up, they're down, and every day we're like surprised when they're up and when they're down. And so they're working through a lot of stuff. And they're not going to increase the tweaking of its frequency in the algorithm until it's smoothed out. So I mean, the fact that we're seeing all this amazing growth already, and they think it's about 10% of the total U.S. population
Wow.
is incredible.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's just a web page. What could possibly go wrong? David, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
David.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yep.
So, again, I want to thank David Hyman from Mog. I love Mog. I'm a subscriber. Happy to have him. Elliot, let's bring up, just in order of proximity, we'll bring up Mr. Jeffrey Sass from Mixer.
Okay.
Mixer is a music services platform. They do a whole bunch of stuff in social media. Also a RedScale customer. We're really happy to have him. And I'll let you go from there, Jeff.
Great.
Great. So people who know Mixer sort of know it as, I mean, if you search Google right now for Mixer, it's wallpaper, ringtones, stuff like that.
It's mobile downloads, yeah.
Right. So I guess how are you finding it difficult? It's sort of a pivot, to use the hot word of the season. How has that sort of prepared you for doing a social radio service?
Yes, so as Elliot alluded to, we started out in the mobile download business, and we're about to launch an internet radio service called Mixer Social Radio. So for us, I think rather than a pivot, I see it more as an evolution. It was a logical evolution for us because we already have a big community. You know, we've served content to over 50 million people. We've done 2.5 billion mobile downloads before, and we've got several apps out there that are very successful in terms of installs of our download apps. And we have relationships with the record labels from the MP3 side of our business already. So it just seemed to be very logical. As the world shifts from a download model to a streaming model, it made good sense for us to also offer streaming content as part of what Mixer does. The download business is still viable and strong, but this is a logical extension. And from a business monetization standpoint, it made sense because we're an ad-supported service on the download side, and so having a free ad-supported radio service also gives us additional inventory, additional creative opportunities to offer advertisers. So it seemed to be a logical evolution.
Okay. And I've heard a little bit about Mixer, a lot actually, from people over there, and the thing I'm excited about, I just wanted to find out whether this is really happening. My understanding was that it's going to be kind of a little bit the turntable FM thing. I mean, are you really going to do this? Am I going to be able to see somebody listening to something on Facebook and join them in real time and talk about it?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things with Mixer Social Radio is we wanted to create a situation where you're listening together with your friends in real time. Music has always been a communal activity, back to banging drums around the campfire. Then technology enabled it to be a solo activity. Sony came out with the Walkman. Suddenly you put your headphones on and you tuned out from everything else, and music became a very solo experience, listening to music. Now technology is bringing it back into a group experience. So with Mixer Social Radio, you have to log in with Facebook. We made the decision to require Facebook login. And when you do, we pull your Facebook community into the app. So you see your friends, their familiar Facebook profile pictures, what they're listening to, what rooms they're listening in. You can join them in the room. You can chat in real time while you're in that room. So it's very much like that group experience the turntable has, except instead of with unfamiliar avatars, it's with your familiar Facebook friends, and it's across all platforms. So it's Android, iPhone, and desktop. You can have people from all devices in the room together, listening together, and interacting with each other while they listen.
Do you have to do anything tricky to keep everybody synced up? Is that a challenge technically?
From a technical standpoint, yeah. I mean, it's been a lot of work to create a situation where you're streaming to these people together in real time, so everything is in sync. To do that across platform is challenging, and that was another reason why it was a logical progression for us, because we already have an established engineering team that's built this highly scalable content delivery platform for downloads. So we felt we had sort of the expertise to push in this space, especially on the mobile side, and to do it across platform.
Okay. And then, these are tough questions. Yeah. So
there are no tough questions, only tough people.
Pandora has gone public. They told me they have essentially 1 out of every 10 Americans, according to their numbers, uses Pandora once a month. So it seems like that's, they get trotted out as this big success, and then you look at their financials, or even to hear them talk about it, it's tough. It can be tough to scale because the bigger you get, the more royalties you owe. So it's not like most digital businesses where it just the scale goes crazy and you have a fixed cost. So How do you plan? I mean, if they're having a hard time, how are you going to pull this off?
Yeah, so it's a great question. I mean, having a viable business model around music is a really big challenge, and one that, lots of companies have struggled with over the years. For us, mobile is very important, and we have, an established history selling mobile advertising. So we've been doing that for years for our download business. We've got a great sales team. We've got great relationships with agencies and brands. And we believe with the level of engagement we have a business model that makes sense for the streaming. But it's definitely challenging. Music licensing is costly. Serving up streams can be costly. So you have to have a model that works. We're doing an ad-supported model. There's no subscriptions. It's totally free. But based on the growth of mobile advertising in particular, we feel very, very good about where we sit on the business
So
side.
you're going to do location, stuff like that.
And just a lot of, using a lot of the creative features of the app for advertisers. So, for example, one of the features we're introducing with Mixer Social Radio is what we call song stories. So, every one of these devices is a camera phone. It has a camera. So when you hear a song, you could actually, tap a button, record a short video of what that song means to you. Every song has meaning. This was my wedding song. Now I'm divorced. I cry every time I hear it. Whatever that story might be. So you can literally tag the song with your song story, and then that lives with that song forever. So now someone else who is listening to that song can see all the associated stories. And those associated stories can be from listeners. They can be, sponsored stories from advertisers. So some interesting opportunities there. Still has to be relevant to the song. They could be artists talking about their songs. What was the inspiration behind that song? Mm-hmm. So things like that create opportunities both for the listeners and for the advertisers.
Yeah, I love that idea because it brings the human element. I mean, it seems like that's the big story this year is making this not a solitary activity. I love that idea, and I think other companies could learn from it. You should patent it or something before that happens.
Good idea. It does have a little TM next to the name, so we must be doing that. But yeah, I mean, music, music listening should be an experience. It's not just a passive activity anymore, especially in this sort of connected world we live in. I mean, everyone now expects to be constantly having this pervasive connection to their friends. Whatever you're doing, you're wrapping this social overlay to it. Whether you're sitting here in the audience and tweeting about it, or whether you're at dinner with your friends, everything we do, watching television, going to the movies, has this overlay. So we feel music is the same situation. It's something that's best experienced together with your friends.
All right.
I love the idea of music as an experience, not just a technology. How about that? There's still so much room for creativity and innovation. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot, and welcome everybody who's joined, and welcome everybody on our live stream from Spark Interactive. Let's get up here, maybe back to proximity, Nahan Ma, CEO of Tenka, whose product is Rolling FM. I know Elliot's had some discussions with you guys before. Happy to have you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for having
All right. Yeah, thanks. I'm glad we're meeting
me. Yeah, definitely.
in person, not just our avatars.
I know, yeah.
So this is sort of an obvious one.
Right.
If you're going to ask tough questions to Rolling.fm, my stance is kind of that there's more than one music venue in a town. So why does there only have to be one avatar-based group listening room? Anyway, I was wondering, you did catch a little bit of guff or whatever you want to call it for that. How is that stopping? Are people realizing that this is a separate thing, or how do you address the turntable question?
Right.
Is it a clone? How does it differ?
Yeah,
all that stuff.
First off, I think Turntable, they sort of ran with the idea and kind of exploded big time in the beginning, but I think the idea was there a while back already. But for us, we come in this situation more as it's all about social discovery as well, right? So music is the key driver to bring people together. But if you take a look at what's happening nowadays, everything is extremely stale, right? You're on Facebook and it's not real time. It's the same deal with Twitter as well. So for us, we feel the next big opportunity in the sort of the digital landscape is social discovery through music. So if you take a look at what we've done with our site, there's a lot of things in there that actually promote that, right? For example, the ability to stream yourself online. So instead of just DJing in a room, you could also dance to the particular track, right? You could go ahead and do the shuffle or do the Dougie in front of everybody and get points that way. So for us, it's about building a world where you can express your individuality such that people can meet you as well. So I think there's a tip of the iceberg with this kind of real-time engagement platform, but music is a key piece of it. I think Chris mentioned this, from Root Music, in the last panel, there's just such an abundance of music out there. The key is how do you filter that in a compelling, kind of systematic and scalable way? And I think the whole concept that was sort of brought into the mainstream through Turntable has to be innovative upon multiple times. For us, you're going to get socially curated music at the same time, but you're going to be able to meet people who like dubstep, who like electronica and such music as well. And for us, it's more geared towards meeting people as well, more kind of localized based rooms, if you will.
So I had heard somebody was questioning. I mean, there are a ton of avatars in there. Are these all real people, and who uses rolling?
Right.
I seem to notice a lot more college themed rooms. So are those people real, and who are they?
Yeah, they're definitely real. They sign in through Facebook. The thing is, it's the 80-20 rule. I'd say there's a good amount of the people who just have the site up and they're sort of AFKs. But our demographics is 15 to 25. It's really the young base, and the majority of the songs that are played on the site is electronica music. And it's interesting. We're working with interesting artists now to kind of bring this platform to them. I think the way artists see the platform now is a way to engage with their fans directly. And so, for example, last week we had Dada Life, one of the bigger Swedish techno stars out there. They came onto the site. They literally kind of crashed the site, but they leaked their song out to their user base. But for them, it's more of a platform to really engage with their audience base in real time, right? Facebook, it's still kind of stale, stagnant, and Twitter, in a way, it's still that way as well.
Do you see? I mean, I think I know the answer to this question, but I guess it's possible to make the criticism that this is like a passing fad. That there was that 2011 is going to be the year where people started turning into avatars and hanging out in rooms together. Is this a fad, or is this something? Are we going to be doing this in 10 years, and what's that going to look like?
If you take a look at what's happened in the past 10 years with really Facebook driving authentication of self onto the real kind of the web, the next phase where we see social networks going is kind of real life representations of yourself as an avatar, right? But these are going to be, I went to a certain school, but it's going to be, you'll look at the avatar, but it's going to be really you there. So we see this not as a fad. We see this as the next evolution of where social networks is going to go. And so, you bring this back to the late 90s, right? It was all about AOL chat rooms. It was extremely fun and engaging that way. You can meet a lot of people at scale, but the issue of kind of authentication of self wasn't there. And so now we're seeing more kind of virtual worlds pop up that are not just sort of the second lives of the world where you just have a subset of the population kind of engage in that. Now you're seeing more of a mass kind of user base jumping into these type of worlds. And music is the best way to bring people together to kind of explore, interests, meet each other. So we're seeing a lot of that happen on our site.
So when you say the avatars, are you talking about like having an actual camera on yourself and being in the room?
Yeah.
Is that really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, we do have right now. We have a room that has. It's called the video rooftop room, where it's similar to what kind of chat roulette, Tiny Chat has, where you can stream yourself in real time. So you can DJ. You're right. You can have a real artist stream themselves real time into a room and get voted up, or separately, someone who doesn't want to DJ just go on. Similar to what happens with Tiny Chat, where you're just there and you see people. But I think at the end, the piece about just having that human connection with somebody else, physically represented by an avatar or even a human picture, is compelling. We see engagement rates spike ridiculously high with the video piece.
Wow.
So that's kind of where we see this kind of space going.
I think that is so interesting because it seems like it's taken a long time for pure music services to really move around to, meeting friends through music, which is, that's how I met Elliot, through being at
Right.
shows
True.
and playing
Yeah,
around.
I mean, there's been over 1 million friendships made on the site, and these are incremental friendships to their Facebook
That's
friends.
a good metric. 1
Yeah.
million friendships. That's
Yeah.
good.
Friendship metrics,
We
I
threw-
like that. That's
we
better.
threw
That's
in-
easier than profit. Just
Right.
friendships.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what it's
All you
about
need
anyway.
is love, right?
Awesome.
Exactly. There's the buy a drink virtual gift there, and so people are just buying people virtual drinks now.
Wow.
I'd like
Yeah.
a real
I wish
drink
I'd
to
been
come to
drinking
the end of
virtual drinks instead last night. Man, that would've-
that. All right, thank you very much,
Yeah,
Mr.
thank
Johan
you.
Ma. Let's get
All right,
next up here,
rolling down
Chris
FM.
Wiltsey from Root Music. I think you guys have been introduced to Chris before, but Root Music is one of the largest apps on Facebook for music, responsible for putting a lot of bands out there, getting them their content published through this Facebook. What is this Facebook thing people keep talking
Yeah,
about?
I don't know.
Maybe you can
Keep hearing about it.
help that.
Yeah, so you guys are, I think, the top music app on Facebook. And I recently noticed, or somebody else did, and then I ripped off their story, that Facebook had deleted its own music app. Why do you think that they did that? Why would they, Facebook had a music player where if you're a band, you could upload your music. Is it that they just don't want to be MySpace, or why would they do something like that? You seem close to the issue.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know exactly what's behind Facebook's moves, but it's interesting if you look back to just the space that was there that allowed for Root Music to enter the scene. I mean, we're a very young company. We're still, our product, the band page has only been on the market for 18 months, and the band page, for anyone who doesn't know, is essentially a simple profile tool that allows artists to create a band page for Facebook to build their fan base and connect with their fans and grow that base. They didn't have any architecture set up to allow artists to do that. The native page just really wasn't equipped for that. And I don't know if that is because when Facebook was kind of emerging as a social network, MySpace was so dominant in
That's
that
a good
space.
point, yeah.
It was, the place where bands went and had their profile, to the point where so many bands, at the height of the MySpace era, if you will, stopped building their own websites, and they would just point you to their MySpace page. And that was very, very commonplace in like 2006, 2007, 2008. I wonder if they just felt like they've got that, let's not go toe-to-toe or head-to-head on that area. Let's focus on personal interactions, and we'll think about music later. And they're obviously thinking about music a lot right now with F8 and the introduction of streaming to the platform. And David spoke about Mog and what a big opportunity that is for the streaming companies. What a big opportunity it is for music fans to be able to have music become a big part of the social network is great. I kind of feel like when we got involved, just a little less than 2 years ago, there was kind of like music, and then there was Facebook, and the two were not
Yeah, you were
very
early.
synchronous.
Yeah.
And now they're starting to, music is becoming a big part of that fabric, and so I think for us it's going to be great because. We spent a lot of time talking to artists, big and small, not necessarily about use the band page, but really about use Facebook. This is really an important place for you to be. This is where all the people are, and so there's a huge amount of opportunity. And so now that hopefully fans will be coming to Facebook for music more and more, that just makes the artist page that much more important.
Well, we saw what Facebook did to MySpace, and you guys, you're the top music app right now. How are you gonna avoid being the next MySpace within Facebook? I mean, it seems like with Facebook gaining more attention as a music thing, I suspect that other companies are going to start, trying to do what you're doing.
Sure.
I mean, how are you going to stay number one?
Yeah, we're gonna work really hard. We were at CMJ a couple weeks ago, I guess, and our company culture is one where we'll go to events like this and speak on panels, and the team that was in New York was sitting around the table at 2 in the morning working. We were having a good time, but there we were working at 2 a.m. and so part of it is there's in this era, I said this on the panel earlier, a week feels like a month in terms of how fast things are iterating and growing. New people entering the space, competitive products, big changes from major players, new entrants. It's like we're number one in terms of as a music app on Facebook, but there's no kind of resting on laurels, if you will. We're working our ass off. We just raised some capital. We're hiring like crazy. We've got an aggressive roadmap ahead of us. We've got great products that are coming out. We're working as if we're in the second position. And that's, I think, what's required in this space.
Okay. And then, do we have time for another one?
One quick one.
Quick one. So all of the news the last few months is about people posting music to each other. Yeah. Are you worried that that's going to become the dominant way that music's on Facebook? I mean, MySpace is very much bands streaming to fans. Are you just? I guess are you? How worried are you, or is it a totally different animal to have a band posting their own music? I mean, it's the same song after all. Do you see that as a differentiator when the band does it themselves? Is that something that?
We encourage a lot of our messaging to the bands that we're working with that have band pages is to do just that. Is to engage with the fans. And so yesterday, TechCrunch picked up on a small but hopefully powerful feature innovation that we rolled out. We didn't put out a press release because it was kind of
they still wrote about it?
Update, yeah.
Wow.
And they saw it, they picked up on it,
Wow.
and basically what we did is we just added a small, but again, hopefully powerful feature where in our player you can comment on a track, you can like a track, or you can share a track directly from the player to your wall, to a friend's wall, that kind of thing. To
So
take
you're
advantage.
going to eat their lunch, in other words.
Well, it's just it's kind of about recognizing the network and the system that we're in, where everything is hopefully and ultimately shareable. And so I got turned on to an artist yesterday that I really liked. There's a couple people that I'm friends with who I think would definitely dig this artist. So I just went to the band page and I shared the track directly to their wall with a little note. And it's fun to do that. It's really useful to do that. And for the artists, I mean, it's amazing, right? Where they can have people evangelizing for them, and essentially, growing their fan base on their behalf. And that's, I think the dynamic and powerful function that Facebook can play. Is essentially for no money or limited. You can augment it insanely with the use of their Facebook ads. But you can really grow your fan base through word of mouth in a way that's never really been possible. I mean, we talked on the last panel about, it used to be that you would go out and get posters and flyers and you'd walk around neighborhoods and put them on posts. Like, it wasn't that long ago. I wouldn't advise anybody ever do that. I would say spend the same amount or less money and time sending out Facebook ads. You're going to be...
So Friends, Music, Facebook, and the crowdsourced street team, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Going forward?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. That was great.
Neat product.
Let me also, speaking of crowdsourced street teams and Facebook and delivery of all these amazing features, this is a good tie-in to bring Nathan Hoy up from Reverb Nation. Also a music app developer, uses that Facebook thing quite a bit to talk to people. So thanks very much for being here.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks. So in the internet age, everybody can. I mean, one of the things the internet was supposed to do is like let everybody else talks about bands and fans connecting directly. So why do they need you if it's all about just getting directly to the fans? What?
Well, I like to think of us as a suite of tools. We're not necessarily a gatekeeper. We're not necessarily trying to do anything or facilitate the interaction other than help you do it. So I think I don't think people really need us. I think we just provide a set of tools that we hope that they'll use, because I think ultimately you could do all this yourself. How efficient you would be at it is the bigger question. But what we do is we provide all these tools, majority of them are all free, and we continually evolve our product lines to facilitate. I mean, obviously Facebook's latest, the F8 stuff really threw a lot of developers through the loop. And what we did is by leveraging partners such as us or Root or Bandpage or any of these companies like that, we will evolve the technology so that you don't have to. So we're still facilitating a one-stop shop, still integrating at every level with all these other companies so that really nobody has to. And then we pull all the information back for you and make it so that you can understand what just happened.
So I guess you just answered part of this question, but making money, I guess the conventional wisdom is that bands are broke, nobody has any money, and these are your customers. So
Yes.
how do you squeeze blood out of that stone? How do you get people who aren't making money to pay?
Well, there are certain products that you ultimately need, right? So most of our products are free. The account's free. We give you the widgets. We give you some of the players. So if you're a lot of my electronic producers. So for increased song storage, if you want really high quality music or extended length music, that's a premium service. So you're basically paying for more bandwidth and longer. So little transactions like that where you might need the upgraded product, that's where we make our money, because they're going to be paying for it anyway. You pay for the upgrade on SoundCloud, it's everywhere.
And then you kind of took away my thunder here. I was going to ask, what about your Facebook strategy? I mean,
Sure.
we were just talking to Root, and now there are a ton of companies, like I said, letting fans share music directly with each other. How does this change Reverb Nation's strategy? These recent Facebook developments. How are you reacting to this?
I don't think it really changes anything. I think it gives us more opportunity. I mean, I know Root's doing it too, but now that the timeline itself gives great opportunity for sharing. I mean, just like Root's doing. I mean, we are facilitating that experience as well. So we're changing the product, not necessarily the strategy, because the strategy has always been, how do we help you get your music to other people? So the strategy is still the same. We're just, the technology's changed a little.
And then just because I'm kind of curious, what kind of trends have you spotted? Because you have access to all this data, right?
Yes.
Your help.
Yeah.
You give bands a map and they can see where their fans are and stuff like that. Have you picked up on any interesting trends that you can, since you can kind of look at all this data and you see all the map for all of these bands? Is anything sticking out that's kind of like, wow, we didn't think that was going on, and it did?
No, I mean, I can tell you experiences with some of the A-list artists that I work with. I've seen certain things like we would never experience kind of a viral component taking place. Like, we know they perform in Los Angeles. We know they go to New York, and we know they play Chicago. But what's really interesting is to start to see like extensive plays happen in like tertiary markets. So I think it's just nice to see things that you wouldn't know or wouldn't expect to translate from major markets to secondary and tertiary markets. So, I mean, there's nothing that's not the same that radio would have. I mean, you'd see people picking up radio tracks in weird markets and their hits, whereas they were never relevant in New York. It's the same. It's kind
So
of the same
people
philosophy.
have, I guess the moral of the story is like people have eclectic tastes outside of, New York, San Francisco,
yeah,
LA,
you never
Chicago.
know how the music is going to get to where it's going to go, but you'll be able to see when it lands.
Neat.
That's awesome. So you brought up an interesting point, which I think that applies to the next person I have coming up, which is that these companies are sitting on these gold mines of data around how people use music, how people experience music. It's driving all this innovation. I haven't seen these companies start to use the data other than for their own product innovations, but it feels like there's this groundswell happening of this information that can be used to completely change what we expect from these applications. And take Rolling FM's avatar-based. We're about to bring up Sam from Audio Room. Maybe I'll let you take that for the next topic, is how people are changing the ways they're checking music out. Let me thank Nathan Hoy from Reverb Nation very much for
Thanks,
being
Nathan.
here.
Thanks a lot.
And bring up Sam Alcan. So Sam's the CEO of another right scale company, Reverb Nation is as well, of Audio Room, actually Social Genius, whose product is Audio Room. And you guys are changing the way people are experiencing music too, it seems like.
Yeah, we'd like to.
Indeed, yeah. So the first time I ran across Audio Room, I guess this came out of a music hack day. which is happening right now in Boston. There's a Music Hack Day. And the first idea behind it was that you would bump to iPhones and create a shared playlist that would combine both of your tastes. And the new product is sort of a web version. So how did that transformation happen, or why did it happen? I felt like there was kind of a clear message where I knew what the thing did, and now it's shifting into this web version. What's up with that, I guess?
We're actually getting back to it. So for those of you who don't know what audio room is, it's essentially a personalized radio that gets to know you, and as you go around collecting preferences from friends, gets better and better. So essentially the idea was always about being social and having two people in the room or online connect and create something on the spot. So the vision is there. What ended up happening, however, is we ended up going to 2 different hack days. I don't know if you've heard of the music hack days. The very first one was when we met you, and then I guess the second one we met Facebook. And Facebook was revamping a lot of its software, going to HTML5, moving towards mobile. And they basically said, we're looking for innovative apps, and you guys are really at the forefront of it in terms of social music. Why don't you just develop it for us or on our platform? So it ended up being a very quick 3-month rush to get the Facebook beta up. So we had to put our other plans on hold. We actually had just launched an App Store app that was doing exactly what he was suggesting, using literally a bump API to connect people in the real room. And so we put that on hold, and we developed the Facebook beta first this summer and went to HTML5, and we're returning back to the old vision. So essentially, the idea is to be able to get anybody online or in real life to connect, and we'd like to facilitate that. It's not going to be just an online experience. So you could be online, I could be on a mobile phone, somebody could be in real life, mixing music, and everybody should be able to join that entire session.
Mm-hmm. So it seems like one thing that this whole Facebook development has done is, there are a ton of services integrating with Facebook. Some of them have been around for much longer, have more brand recognition. So I'm wondering how Audio Vroom, what kind of adoption you're seeing, and whether, how you're approaching the problem of competing with brands that are sort of household names at this point.
Well, we actually have a very interesting edge that I don't think most people really thought about. We weren't a web product first. We were a mobile product. So we're only about 1.5 years old, and what we built was essentially for the mobile user. No matter where you are, you should be able to access music. So the screen should be able to change from an iPod Nano to an iMac. It should be pretty much very seamless and go with you wherever you are. So I guess the whole edge from Facebook's standpoint was that we could introduce an HTML5 product that looks the same, feels the same, captures your preferences no matter where you are, and is streaming oriented. And most other services, as you'll do more research, they're essentially a web-based product, and they'll give you an app to be able to play what you've created on the web. So if you're looking for a bunch of music on Spotify, you're essentially creating that on the web first. It's your playlist, you're creating the experience, and then you can listen to it anywhere you are on a mobile device. In our case, you should be able to create a music session right here using your mobile device. That could be the very first entry point. So it's a very different mindset, being a mobile developer and really thinking of music as a mobile service.
Mm-hmm. So before this panel, you mentioned something that got me really interested, which is you said, that right now what we're seeing with Audio Vroom is the tip of the iceberg, and you have all this stuff going on. I know you don't want to, be on a live stream that your competitors might be watching and give the whole thing away, but can you talk thematically or hint at what these things are somehow? Is there a way to do that?
Well, one of them is actually coming fairly soon, and I'm kind of alluding to it here, but we can easily invite friends to a session that we're, like for example, I could be creating a session right here and inviting my friends online. There's no reason why I can't actually bring 2-3 of us, or pretty much the whole group, together in one session based on all of our preferences, come up with a particular, let's call it a radio station. That kind of social music has never really taken place. The hybrid of online and offline, and really using any device and just getting users to drive the music experience, as opposed to one person saying, I'm going to DJ for the whole group. So what's going to happen is all of us will be able to come into the room, and our preferences will automatically create a joint stream. That's a very different kind of an experience than we're used to. We're
Sure.
working for technology today, whereas in our service, it's going to be working for us as users. We don't have to know an artist's name. We don't have to really know what we're looking for at that moment. We could just come in as a group and start an experience, a different kind of a DJ experience.
Right. Yeah, I guess it's like a little bit more lean back.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you've ever tried to get work done while you're picking songs on turntable, it doesn't
Forget
happen.
it.
Yeah.
That was our idea. I mean, I love music, and I'm actually the biggest user of the service currently, my service, because I really could not remember at times some of the artist names. I mean, I grew up in Istanbul as a kid, and I don't have really as much knowledge about, say, some genres. Like jazz wasn't really big in Turkey when I was growing up, and I love listening to it. I began to realize as I let Audioverm kind of pick up songs from its 15 million song library, it's tapping into some of my taste, because I'm not just looking into an artist and a genre. It's looking up, we work with Econis, we're looking up everything from a beat tempo to like what similar artists are talking about, or not, what users on the web are talking about, in the case of that particular artist. So it's picking up on so many more granular pieces of data that I would have never thought about, that the service is really picking up on.
Neat. All right.
Interesting.
Well, yeah.
So back to the themes of friendship, music, APIs, Facebook, interesting innovation between. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Sam. I
Thanks.
appreciate it. So let's wrap this up. But before, so you've been asking everybody tough questions. I want to ask you a tough question.
Oh boy.
How you like them apples? So, Elliot, you've been doing this stuff. You've been writing about this. You write for Wired, Huffington Post. Evolver FM is syndicated now. You see these apps more than anybody else. I mean, what themes are you seeing? What are you seeing take hold and interest people?
One of the most interesting things I've seen lately was, and I was just talking about this a little bit before the panel, the idea, I guess, that comes from video game music. I mean, I'm looking forward to the point where the music itself gets changed by these the new mediums. So there was a band, and the name keeps escaping me, but they made 620 loops that activate and meld into each other as you go around Central Park. So you go to the pond and you get like the pond theme. So essentially you're like a character in a video game. I mean, the closest analogy is video game music, where the music reflects what's happening to the character. And what I can't wait, if I was an entrepreneur, the thing I'd be working on, I've even come up with a name for it, Life Listen. So I want to access all of my real world information through the music I'm listening to. So, New York City, where I live, has an API where you can hook into the train schedule, and I want my music to speed up if I'm going to be late for the train. I want the music to change based on the weather, or if it's going to rain soon, I want that to be in there. I want text to speech hooked up to my Google Calendar so that I hear sort of mixed into my music. You might want to get ready for your meeting in 5 minutes. Emails from certain people, I want to have like a list of like, if any of these people email me, do text to speech, just like stop my music. And that way I can like leave my headphones on, or then I go to my car and I have this playing there. I have it playing through my Apple TV or my Sonos, or I just want this like omnipresent sort of biofeedback music channel. And I think that's starting to happen. I mean, you've got accelerometers in the phone, you've got location, you've got APIs for so many of the things that we deal with today. I kind of can't wait to see that one. So it's not really happening yet, but if I keep talking about it,
music
maybe.
app providers, meet your toughest customer. Good luck keeping him happy. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. Thank you, Spark Interactive. Thanks, RightScale, Sonos, our sponsors, all of our app providers. We'll spin this around in about 5 more minutes and pick up the next panel. Thanks, everybody.
All right, thanks, Keith.